And welcome aboard. It is Rothenberg Untucked. We have a very busy show. Dr. Michael Gott, big-time orthopedic surgeon, has given us a few minutes. We'll have a conversation with him about youth sports, why guys in professional sports are continuously injured. So that conversation starts in just a moment, right here on Rothenberg Untucked. And welcome to another edition, another episode of Rothenberg Untucked. I mean, injuries in baseball are so prevalent, and we have so many questions. And I'm a bright guy, but truthfully, I don't have all the answers. So we want to go to an expert. We want to go to someone who might have some answers and help us make some semblance of what's going on in sports and specifically baseball. So Dr. Michael Gott from White Plains Hospital joins us here on Rothenberg Untucked. Welcome, Dr. Gott.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, so we have a lot to get into, and we're going to chop it up, and we're going to have fun. Before we start, now that you and I have this personal relationship, if and when I have two boys, if and when either of them become injured, I want a pipeline. I don't want to talk to a secretary. I don't want a receptionist. I want a pipeline right to you. I have your cell phone number now. I want to come see you in the office.
That's never a problem. And my wife will tell you I'm never off my cell phone. And she doesn't believe me when I say, look, it's work, but the cell phone doesn't stop. When you're a sports medicine guy and you take care of youth athletes and you take care of college athletes and the occasional pro athlete, it doesn't stop. I mean, you're always going to get a text message, hey, can I come in now? Can I do this? So, my phone is open for you whenever you want.
Good. And now I have your cell phone number, which might have been a mistake from you. So I want to
don't put it on the screen.
No, we won't. I probably promise you. But we will advertise how people can get in touch with you to make a normal, very normal appointment. So before we get to the questions that I have, and I've written down a bunch of them, and I don't want you to tell me who, have you operated on household names that people would say, oh, wow, that's a big athlete. I'm sure we know him.
It's funny. So, in training, absolutely. So, I mean, my training was with the best. I trained down in Alabama with Andrews Sports Medicine. So spent some time with Dr. James Andrews, with Dr. Lyle Kane, who's the head team doctor for Alabama, Dr. Jeff Dugas, who takes care of a lot of sports teams down there, the WWE. So big names in sports medicine, the guys that really trained me. And when I was down there, it was a lot of pro athletes. And so definitely household names. My practice up in Westchester here, I mean, it's really heavy with youth sports, college athletes. And, one of the first professional baseball players I operated on actually played for, I think it was the Cincinnati Reds in 1957. I did his total hit. So he wasn't currently playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely see my share of pro athletes up here. A lot of players from this area end up playing overseas. And I have a lot of referrals that come in from some of those basketball players, baseball players, things like that.
So I see Nick Saban right behind you, huh? Did he give you that as a parting gift when you finished there at Alabama?
Yeah, it was. It was really, I mean, look, I had some great contact with the medical staff at Alabama. They kind of taught me all I know about sports medicine, and bringing that into my sports medicine practice up here has been great. And that was kind of the thank you he gave all the fellows down there after our year we trained down there.
All right, so I want to get started with this. I do not understand. I talk about it on my show all the time. I can't make sense of it. Nobody that I work with can make sense of it. I work with former athletes. I mean, Rick DiPietro was the number one pick in the NHL draft. Chris Canty was a Super Bowl champion, is a Super Bowl champion with the New York Football Giants. Why are there so many more injuries? I don't remember when I was a kid in the early 80s, mid 80s, guys missing time day after day after day with injuries that didn't seem to exist like they do now. Why?
I mean, I think it just comes down to simple biomechanics. One thing that has not changed is the skeleton. The human skeleton hasn't changed. The ligaments don't change. But what has changed is mass and velocity. So you've increased the mass of the athletes, you've increased the velocity of the athletes, but you haven't changed the static factors of the body, which is the bones and the ligaments, right? So, bones, they are what keep us upright. They're the structure of us. And ligaments attach those bones together. And those things aren't going to change. I mean, it will take millions of years of evolution for them to change. But what has changed in the last, few years is nutrition, training science has gotten better. How we train has gotten better. I mean, things have just exploded over the last 20, 30 years, and your athletes are going to get bigger, faster, and stronger. But it's going to be more difficult for the human body to support that size and that speed. There's going to be a breaking point.
Are guys too big? Because I say this all the time. Stanton he's an Adonis. Like he's 6'7", 260. He looks like he's a Greek god. But you used to watch guys 20, 30, 40 years ago, and you'd be like, he looked like he could be on your beer league softball team, never gets hurt, and Giancarlo Stanton doesn't even play the field and can't play 2 days in a row.
That could be. There's no real great data on that, but it just seems obvious to me, right? It just seems obvious that, if you look at the players throughout history and you look at the greats who were in the 60s and 70s, and they're looking like somebody who would be in your softball league, lean, healthy looking guys. Well, some of them smoked like chain smokers, but other than that, I mean, you're not seeing these big muscular guys swinging the bat. And, look, home runs sell tickets. And so you're going to want big, strong guys who could hit the ball out. But I don't know if the human body could support that size. And, there's been really good biomechanical studies done, especially in pitchers, not so much in guys who are like Stan, who are hitters. But that speed and velocity is going to cause an increased amount of torque on the body, and that's going to cause injury. And so that torque, you could extrapolate it out to the same torque of hitting, where people are pulling their obliques. Like you would never hear of an oblique injury.
I didn't know what it was. I was not familiar with what an oblique. I don't think I have an oblique, to be honest. If you look at me, but I don't think that oblique was a term that sports radio guys knew 15 years ago. I don't think it existed.
You're absolutely right. And so what's happening is you're having such a massive upper body, torquing so fast around the torso and the core that the muscles are failing. Muscles that usually would never fail are failing. And so and we have advanced imaging that we can see the muscles very clearly. And so you have new injuries. And these new injuries are because the athletes are changing.
Yeah, that's obvious. And this is why I don't work out, because I don't want to get these muscles that all of a sudden put me in issues that like a Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge could have. So it's a great idea to live my life that way. So youth sports. I mean, I have two boys, and they play nonstop, and knock on wood, they've been very healthy so far. And my wife's going to kill me because if somebody gets hurt in the not-so-distant future, it's going to be all my fault. I've jinxed it. But realistically, why? I mean, you look at these kids. Are they doing too much? Are they too involved? Is there too much training? Are they pushed too hard by the parents?
Well, there's a couple of factors that go into why we're seeing such a kind of explosion in youth injury. One is definitely, youth sports has become a bigger industry. And so you're seeing a lot more than just kids playing for their school league or their local little league. Now there's all sorts of corporations that are set up to have your kids play all year round. And that's drawing people to play. And there is a lot of pressure on training and being the best and continuing to play. And what we've really seen is this pressure causes kids to start wanting to, or the parents pushing them into super specialization. So whereas when I grew up, I played lacrosse, I played football, and I ran track. So there were 3 seasons, then summer, I did whatever, I wasn't even playing a sport. Now in places where there's 4 seasons, which is the north part of America, people are playing the same sport all year round. And when you're playing the same sport all year round, what we've seen, and there's clear data on this, you're going to get hurt. And it's not just baseball. It could be soccer. It could be tennis. It could be anything where you're doing the same motions over and over again all year round. Their body is just not meant to do that.
It's funny. I bring my son to the pediatrician once a year. Typically, gets his shots, gets looked over. Then, what sports do you play? I'm a baseball player. Do you throw curveballs? And he's like, well, a little bit. He's no curveballs, no curveballs. He's big on that. Is that? Do you agree with that? Like 10, 11, 12, 14 years old? Like, where is that line in the sand where a kid can actually start to throw a curveball?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, if you ask, Dr. Andrews 15 years ago, and this is what they trained us when I was down there in Alabama 10 years ago, it was, you would want to wait till the growth plates are closed. So that's basically after puberty, when your boy looks like a man, then you could start throwing curveballs. But what was done is there's been really good biomechanical studies done on the actual force that goes through the elbow when you're throwing a fastball, throwing a curveball, slider, any kind of breaking pitch, any kind of off-speed pitch. And what was found, and just from the biomechanical studies, is actually there's less torque on your elbow with an off-speed pitch. And so if you extrapolate that to the real world, you're not going to see as much injury with a curveball. Now, USA Baseball did a study probably in the think it was like the late tens, where they followed pitchers for 5 years at the youth level and they saw who got hurt. And then the ones who got hurt and needed surgery, they asked, what kind of pitches did you pitch? And there was no correlation between whose elbow needed surgery and what kind of pitches they threw. It didn't really matter. But one thing that we do see is speed. So velocity will get you, speed and volume. So if the kids who you really have to be careful with are the kids who throw really fast. A fastball actually is more dangerous than a curveball, a really fast fastball. And, you get the kids in the little league teams who throw a beautiful, fast fastball. They could place it. They're going to be played more because the coaches want to win. And they're putting a lot more torque on their elbow. So the fastball really is the most dangerous pitch. Truthfully, my stance is if you have good mechanics and you have good strength in your core and you cross-train, you're not playing baseball year round, I think if you're under puberty, you could throw an off-speed pitch, go for it. Because you're not putting as much torque on your elbow as a fastball.
All right, interesting stuff. So I heard this recently and I was floored by it. And that is, and I don't want to say elective Tommy John, because I don't think that's fair, but someone who was, how about this, was right there on the fence that they could have dealt with Tommy John or they could have not. It could have gone either way. And this guy, young guy, wanted it, pushed for it because he thought, A, now I'm done with it. Now I've had it. My pitching career can resume when I'm done. And B, and you've heard this all over the place, doctor, you know what? I'm going to throw the ball faster. I'm going to gain 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 miles an hour on my fastball. I'm more attractive to the college programs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a great way to look at it. I think you only have surgery if you have exhausted every non-operative part of the management of your throwing arm. So surgery is never going to be the first option. That's always the last option, because surgery really there's no performance enhancing surgery here. When we look at the data on Tommy John surgery, just for an example, we're looking at return to the previous level of play. That is a good result. So if you get to where you were before, we're happy with that. If you're at the professional level, that's now, and it's been getting better every year, it's the high 90 percentile. So, if you have Tommy John surgery at that level or college level, the chance of you getting back to the level you were before is 95%, 96%, depending on what you read. That still means there's 4% of players who have that surgery and they don't go back to where they were before. They don't pitch again. Maybe they have to change positions. Maybe they're out of baseball. And 4% is a real number when you're looking at 100 baseball players and 4 guys aren't playing again after they have Tommy John. So, this isn't a surgery that you would want to sign up for. This is a last ditch scenario. And it's a great surgery that we have that was invented, by our forefathers of sports medicine. Dr. Jobe, was the first one who did it on, Tommy John. And then Dr. Andrews kind of changed a little bit. And there's a million different ways to do the surgery now. But they all basically, kind of do the same. And so, but this is to prolong your career. It's not to enhance your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make sense. So I've been in the locker room a million times, and every time I walk by a pitcher who was just thrown that day, you would think he's coming out of surgery. I mean, his elbow is wrapped with pounds of ice, and the shoulder is apt, and he's got his arm in a bucket, and you think, this is not natural. How unnatural is it for a human being to take a baseball and throw it as fast as humanly possible 100, 110, 120 times during a given day game, and then to do it 5 days later and 5 days later and over and over and over? It feels, just from the layman, like this is a very unnatural act and a very unnatural motion.
It is. I mean, because, you got to go back to the beginning. Like, what are humans really good at? And, how did we evolve? Like, are we supposed to throw things? No, we're really good at walking a long time. And that's kind of what we had to do a million years ago, is walk from here to there and forage and eat. And that's it. So our arms were meant to feed ourselves. They weren't meant to externally rotate past our hands and then throw a baseball at 100 miles an hour. If you throw a fastball at 85 miles an hour, it's like you're holding a 60-pound weight like this off the back. And that's putting, 60 Newton meters of force across your elbow, which is an incredibly unnatural motion. In fact, if you don't throw a baseball, like if you want to be a pro pitcher, you can't not throw a baseball while you're growing. So you need to throw while your shoulder is actually maturing, like, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or you won't be able to gain the extra rotation needed to have the velocity to throw. So I didn't play baseball. I grew up playing lacrosse. It was kind of what was around here. And I'll never be able to throw a ball more than 50 miles an hour. That's because of how my shoulder was developed as a kid. Like, I can't reach the external rotation that a pitching shoulder can to deliver the amount of force that's necessary to get that velocity.
So that's amazing. So if you don't use it by a certain age, for lack of a better term, you lose it?
Well, not really lose it. You'll never be able to do it. But I'm not saying I want you to be pitching all the time, because then so it's a really important
Right.
balance.
There's a happy medium, sure.
You have to play baseball, but you have to throw. So you have to be a thrower from when you start if you want to be a high level thrower. If you want to play in college, even at the high school level. You can't. There's not going to be a kid who never played baseball before and then steps on the field and can pitch 85 miles an hour in high school, and they never played until their senior year. It's just not going to happen because your shoulder's not going to be developed in the way to do it. You won't be able to have the range of motion available to you to deliver the kind of velocity needed to do that. But it's not like use it and lose it. You know what I mean? It's, if you don't use it, you'll never have it.
Right. So you'll never have it in the first place. So I have very little more to ask. I think we've done a great job today. What are the parents like? Because I see coaching youth sports, how difficult parents can be. In your practice, do you are the kids like the pleasure, and the parents are the difficult avenue and the difficult hurdle for you?
I think we do a pretty good job, making sure that the kids are safe. And so I think there's been, over the last few years, the leagues are doing a better job at making sure that they understand how dangerous it is for kids to play through pain and to play fatigued. So when they come in my office, it's very rare that they're trying to push them back or get them in faster. And we spend a lot of time discussing with parents, the risks and benefits of playing in pain or trying to play or trying to perform when you're fatigued. And they get it because, the data is there. I mean, there was a 10-year study following youth baseball players from, 6 years old till 16 or 8 years old to 18. And every year they were given a phone call. Did you get hurt this year? How many pitching? How much did you pitch? How many innings did you pitch? And we know that if you play fatigued or play with pain, it's not like you have a 2 times chance of needing a surgery on your elbow or shoulder. It's a 36 times chance.
Wow.
So basically, if you're a kid who's trying to just be out there and throw when you're fatigued or hurt, you're going to need surgery. And, surgery is great. And we do a good job of getting people back to sport. But if you get surgery on your elbow or shoulder, it's not a guarantee they're going to keep playing baseball. So that's why it's so important for parents and then kids to understand that you can't play hurt and you can't play tired. And so, one unfortunate name that my office has come up with during baseball season in the Northeast is it's crying season, because I'm constantly telling these young athletes that they have to shut it down. And because if you come in my office and, your exam shows that you may have, put a little bit too much strain on your elbow or your shoulder, the first thing we do is I make them do a 6-week period of no throwing. And that's no throwing anything. I don't want you playing football with your buddies. I don't want you throwing a basketball in the pool. I don't want you throwing anything. I don't want you throwing out the garbage unless your parents make you. But, it's so important to rest. And then we focus on how we're going to rebuild the arm and get you stronger to get back safer. Overall, parents are great. And I think they've gotten better because I think the leagues are really doing a much better job watching the kids and making sure they're not overdoing it. And the athletes, they're young, so it's devastating, and they'll
I'm
never
sure it must be,
and they'll never get it, and that's okay. But once they come back in 6 weeks and they feel better, and we put them on the throwing program, and they can get back. A 12-year-old understands that they didn't miss the most important part of their baseball career. And the good news is we don't have a lot of repeat offenders once they kind of go through the rest and the program, and it kind of maybe scares them a little bit that this could happen, and they take it seriously, and the parents take it seriously.
Are there solutions moving forward, or is this something that if you and I have the same conversation 5 years from now, it'll be equally extreme to the amount of injuries in sports, and especially baseball right now?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of continued education and continued prevention. And what we know now is off season is so important. So, if you can get anything out about what we're saying today, is don't let your kids super specialize. If you're a thrower, if you throw baseball, javelin, football, you got to take 4 months off of that sport. Even if you're a tennis player and you're serving, 3 to 4 months a year, you got to take off from that motion, because if you don't, you're going to get hurt. I mean, the chances are, unless you're, and no, I'm not going to give you the option of being a freak athlete, because they're out there, but they get hurt too. Every athlete at every level takes an off season. And so if you're not taking an off season, you're going to get hurt. So that's number one. And pitching volume, pitching itself. So, pitching is really the big issue in baseball. I mean, if you play second base your whole career, you never pitch, you're probably going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Your injury is going to come run the bases, or, sliding into third. It's not going to be coming from throwing. But if you're a pitcher, or if you're a pitcher and a catcher, which is the double, which you never want to do both, that volume of throwing is going to be a real issue. And that's why we've created pitch counts and inning counts. If you pitch more than 100 innings in a year, you got a 3 times greater risk of needing some sort of a surgery than somebody who didn't.
Wow.
I mean, the volume is very, very real. So, and if people understand that and the education is out there, then, especially these kids who throw fast, the coaches will look out for them, and the parents will look out for them. And they'll know, maybe this kid, even though he's got a great velocity at 13, we shouldn't have him pitching. Let's have him play someone else. If we don't want to have him pitch, once in a while, a couple innings a month. And, when he starts getting a little older and starts getting a little more important, the stakes are a little higher, we'll have him pitch a little bit more, because it's something you really want to decrease your volume with. One of the greatest slides I've ever seen on pitchers in baseball is, you draw a line across the United States, kind of right under Virginia, right? Where you have seasons and you don't have seasons.
With the weather, sure.
And you look at where the most 200-win Major League Baseball players come from, and they're all above. I mean, it's an incredible chart. So, below there's a couple here and there, and you look at, where they're coming from, where it is, but 80% of them come from above that line. And so that's because historically, there was nowhere to play indoors. This is going back 50 years. And if there's a winter, you're not playing baseball. And so you're getting that off season, which is really important to have a long career.
Is there any truth to the rumor that you skipped out on a surgery halfway through just to join me today, or is that not factual?
You see the band of my hair, my headgear? No. Everything went perfect. It was we always spend as much time as we need to make the surgery go perfectly.
I requested you because of that Giants football behind you. Please tell me you're a big Giants fan. Is that true?
Absolutely.
You're a good man. Dr. Gott, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. I have access, but I will not share the number with anybody in my inner circle. Thank you so much. So a tremendous thank you to Dr. Michael Gott, who spent more time than we even anticipated on this edition of Rothenberg Untucked. We have a lot coming up future weeks. You want to go nowhere, you can follow us all over the place on social media at Rothenberg Untucked. Until next time.